And first of all, I'd like to introduce, before we move on to the questions and engaging conversation with Paweł, I'd like to introduce you to the initiative behind today's discussion, Clementina's Empowered Youth for Climate Action. This project is dedicated to equipping young people and youth workers with the knowledge and tools needed to actively engage in climate decision making. And by fostering participatory approaches and amplifying youth voices, Clementines aims to ensure that young people play a central role in shaping the policies that impact their future. So let's dive into the discussion and welcome Paweł once again. And well, Paweł, you are a youth engagement expert specializing in participatory democracy and EU policy making, but also your works explores how deliberative methods such as Citizens Assemblies and policy labs enhance youth participation in climate action. So you're the best person to help us clarify the following. Why are participatory and deliberative democracy important for youth engagement in climate action, and what's the main difference between them?
Good morning, everyone. Hi, Sophia. It's really pleasure. Thanks for having me. So when it comes to participatory and deliberative democracy, I think it is good if I start with a short description of what is participatory democracy and deliberative democracy, because these are pretty strong words. They might sound confusing. However, I promise you guys, this is quite. I will do my best to guide you a little bit. So when we talk about participatory democracy, we talk about giving everyone, especially young people, a direct voice in decision making. So it's about the conclusion in ensuring that those who will live with the consequences of climate policies, for instance, like the youth, have a seat at the table. Deliberative democracy, on the other hand, focuses more on the informed and thoughtful discussions. So it's not just about having a voice, but about engaging in meaningful dialogue to find solutions that work for everyone. So long story short, participatory democracy is about breadth, getting as many people involved as possible, while deliberative democracy is about depth. So ensuring those voices are well informed and impactful. Well, speaking from the academia side, from more delving more into the backgrounds, the academic backgrounds of these theories, the deliberative democracy is rooted in the Jürgen Habermas theory. And as I said before, prior to that, decisions are made through structured discussions and rational debate among those affected by the policies. It emphasizes inclusive, informed, and reasoned dialogue before reaching a conclusion. And to show you guys, maybe before I get to showing you guys an example, I'll just give you 4 sort of examples. How does deliberative democracy can look like? So first of all, we can have decision making by a representative group. So when we have a diverse and representative group of citizens or stakeholders that are engaged in discussions. Also, what we want to have is we want participation of those who are affected or will be affected by the policy we're discussing. To close one tab, I hope you can't hear my notifications. Okay. But what is also worth mentioning when I talk about deliberative democracy is that the outcomes are non-binding. So they are often rather advisory rather than legally binding. So meaning policymakers are not always required to implement them. And rational discourse and argumentation. This is my fourth point here I want to make, is that decisions are based on logical reasoning, expert input and evidence rather than just political bargaining or majority rule. So how does it work in practice? Basically, citizens discuss key issues in citizens assemblies, policy labs, or participatory panels. Then we have the consultations with experts, so with people from academia, from professional backgrounds that provide those who take part in these dialogues with objective data and research. And then we look for consensus. So we seek for consensus, and participants are meant to aim for a shared understanding rather than a simple majority vote. And then they come out, so that the outcome is that we have the recommendations, and the outcome serves as guidance for policymakers, but does not necessarily become law. And let me just and I just guided with how does the the deliberative democracy theory implementation look like, but we actually see it on a daily basis on the EU level even. So because when we hear about the EU conference on the future of Europe, quite big thing, right? And this is actually the implementation of deliberative democracy. Okay, I have something quite interesting and relevant about deliberative democracy, but let me proceed with participatory. So, I just want to make sure I feed meet the timing requirements. Okay, and participate direct involvement of citizens in the decision-making process rather than relying solely on elected representatives. So it seeks to empower individuals and communities by giving them a direct say in shaping policies. So how does it work then? We have citizen-led proposals, so individuals or groups can propose laws, initiatives, projects. We have public decision-making, so citizens vote on policies, budgets, or development plans. And then we have implementation by authorities. So approved proposals are carried out by local or national governments. And these can be, for example, the referendums that they have in Switzerland, or the EU Youth Dialogue that I'm happy to be representing from today, because this is our organization serves as National Youth Council that actually takes actively part in EU Youth Dialogues. I think what young people can do is especially to use this to use all of these tools that participatory and deliberative democracy gives us, but it is also good to know that they are they're not just ideals, but they're tools to drive climate action. So by embracing methods like policy labs, we can move from being passive observers to active shapers
Great.
of the
Paweł,
policies. And the climate crisis is. Oh yeah, we need to continue, right?
sorry to interrupt, but it was just a perfect moment for me to ask you the second question, since you already started talking
Yeah.
about them. I wanted for us to get deeper into the actual deliberative methods that youth and youth workers can use in practice. For instance, in our Clementina's Youth Workers Guide to Climate Action, which we presented in the first webinar, we have addressed policy labs as one of these methods. So I'd like to hear more
Mhm.
like of your views on the following, that policy labs are often used to co-create solutions. But how can young people effectively use this method to influence local or national climate policies?
Okay. Well, in many ways, in short, um, I think it is essential that young people can really take uh, uh, because what we need from young people to be engaged in policy labs, for instance, we need information. So we need to spread, we need to promote, we need to advertise, and also advocate for youth engagement in in policy labs, for instance, and however. Um, okay, let me just think if I can get straight to the point. Because we need to be also aware that we have 27 different member states. I'm talking about European Union now. Like in each country, the youth situation is quite different. So, as you mentioned, in Greece, and for instance, what can young people of Greece can do is that they have an example of your organization, so they can so it is about such organization, such NGOs as yours to promote such initiatives. Also, I think so. It's like working from bottom to the top level, from us when the initiatives goes from the citizens to the decision makers, and I think this is the most often case actually, as well as in Poland. We often have a very motivated young people who want to take part in who want to actively take part in the discussions. They want to actively take part in the in policy making, for instance, through policy labs, but they do not have any information how to do that. So, for one thing, we need to make sure that we empower NGOs to promote such initiative, but also we need decision makers and those who can allow young people to really have say, have word during this policy lawmaking process. Okay, and I would say that that's pretty much what I think it is most relevant in this case.
Thank you very much. And what would you say, since we want to be realistic, and oftentimes what we hear in theory is not as easy as it is in practice. With that in mind, what are the biggest barriers, would you say, that prevent young people from engaging in climate governance, and how can this be overcome?
Okay. Um, well, there are several major barriers that prevents young people from engaging in climate governance. Is the limited access to decision-making spaces. So many governance structures are dominated by, um, sorry to say that, but older politicians and policymakers with few formal opportunities for youth participation. But solution seems to be pretty simple. We need to implement youth quotas, and this might seem a bit revolutionary, but also, well, quotas are one thing. We can also have youth councils, and I'm sorry, I can't really. I'm not an expert in youth councils. I don't know how does it actually look like in other member states, but I can tell you from perspective of Poland that we have pretty active pretty active field of youth councils, and our organization from sorry for the self self advertisement, but we recently released the report of youth councils in Poland, and we counted there more than 400 of them just in Poland. And these are the youth councils that are run by local governments. So we have these boards of young people that are actively engaged in every policy making that has something to do with youth. So this is amazing. And I know in some countries there are also similar bodies that are set up within local governments. And I think that's something we need to promote and really empower, really principle, very basic, but also something very essential. If we want truly have civil society that really cares about young people. Because caring about young people is not only by saying, okay, we think that you need this and this, so we will provide this and this. No, a true inclusion is when you invite young people to the table and you ask them, and they directly can tell you what are their needs, what are they, what do they seek for, what do they need in their local governments. And it also has, analogically, it can work on the nation level. In Poland, we also have youth council. We used to have one council of children and youth that was run by Ministry of National Education. Now there are even more and more ministries that set up such entities because they see that it worked and it is relevant because they can hear directly from young people from I would say I would call these people ambassadors of young, because obviously we can't expect every young person to be actively involved in policy making process. For many people, unfortunately, politics, that when they hear about politics, first thing that comes to their mind is I don't really belong there. It's not my thing, etc. But by empowering young people in this way, by giving the floor for young councils, and so giving young people a floor to actively create these policies, we engage them and we make politics fun. And I think this should be the point for stakeholders, for policymakers. Okay. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but let me get back to the question about the barriers. Obviously, we have lack of knowledge and capacity, and young people may lack technical knowledge about policy processes, legal frameworks, climate science, and I think answer here is simple. We just need to educate. We need proper education. We need to invest in climate governance education, mentorship programs, training workshops, also trainings to build skills in policy advocacy. I think here it is essential to mention, for instance, there is one project that I'm familiar with, and I know it's successfully implemented in Poland, but I'm sure it's on the EU level. It's called Ambassadors of Climate Pacts, and this is a platform for young people, for not only young people, but mostly young people are involved in it. And it also shows us who mostly benefits from climate action, from because we will mostly as young people will live on this this world, so we should care even more about environment protection. And this is a platform that European Commission provides for young people who deal with these policies on a daily basis. They work in different fields, but the thing is, the Commission wants them to work together to have this platform, so also they have better chance to get the knowledge, which is the part of the deliberative democracy. Basic implementation of that. So wonderful tool. But also barriers in engagement can be as decent as financial and logistical barriers. So because there is no engagement without attending meetings, conferences, advocacy events that require funding, time, often travel, and this is very often, sadly, inaccessible for young people. And here, what we need, I think the best thing would be to provide stipends, scholarships, or maybe virtual participation options to ensure inclusivity sometimes when it is possible to implement. But also this should be taken into consideration when we are discussing these barriers.
I see. And thank you very much for sharing all these insights with us. And since we're getting closer to the end, I would like to ask you a last question so that we can finish in a more inspirational tone. What advice would you give to young people who want to get involved in climate governance and climate action, but don't know where to start?
Okay, that's I'm happy, but also a bit stressed to answer that because it takes a lot, and I would like to guys give you really best of my knowledge. I think first of all is to educate yourself in terms of not only reading reports from reputable sources, following climate news, but also research on local or maybe even more on national level youth-led initiatives. So get involved in existing groups to gain experience and build connections. So join local environment organizations or NGOs working on climate issues when we're talking about climate change, obviously. But there are so many NGOs, believe me, there's so much flow. If you're interested in anything, basically, you can really take and be actively engaged in policymaker in any field possible. Volunteering is also a fantastic option. Here I just want to mention I don't know what is the what is the our understanding of the EU, but there are so many fantastic, really fantastic European Union-run initiatives, such as European Solidarity Corps, such as Erasmus Plus. So there are so many platforms to get training, to get this education, to get this mobility, but also it helps us to build bridges between others who are already actively engaged. So, and I think this is the best thing in non-formal education, that when you gain knowledge from one another. Also, I think what I can advise you guys is just to build networks, collaborate, and well, let yourself be led by example. So look for communities, look for alike thinking people, because there are so many NGOs, there are so many platforms that really integrate people who actively work in the field. I'm sorry, I can really provide a few examples because time's strict. But Together EU platform, pan-European fantastic platform. Another way to you just sign, you become a volunteer, and you get to know. You get any information about any initiative that's happening within your city or within your region. So another amazing tool for people who want to start but do not really know how to. So you just join something that is already being organized, so you're just being invited. Well, so to conclude, getting involved in climate governance may seem daunting at first, but every step you take matters. Start small, also stay curious, and remember that you're part of a global movement of young people fighting for a sustainable future. So by that we can shape policies, hold leaders accountable, and create a world where both people and planet thrive. So yeah, let me finish maybe with this with such pathos. But I hope that was I hope you any of you could find it helpful a bit. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Paweł. And as we wrap up, I want to thank you, of course, for sharing your insights, and thank all of you for joining today's session. Of course, participatory and deliberative democracy are key to shaping a just and sustainable future. And it's inspiring to see even the interest from all of you to join the session today. If you'd like to revisit this session, the recording will be available on our YouTube channel very soon. And of course, stay connected with the Climatinas initiative by visiting our website, climatinas.eu, for more resources which you can download directly under the tab Publications and Outputs. Thank you once more, and see you next Monday for the third webinar of our series, Words and Action, discussing children's rights and the triple planetary crisis. Bye, and thanks again.
Once again, thanks for having me. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.